They are their authentic self. So definitely represent yourself in your music. Your words are powerful. I'm a lyricist, so I love to hear lyrics and who you guys are, right? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and bring up our next person, and I am so blessed that we were able to add her to this. We talked about the give-get agreement earlier, right? She is an entertainment lawyer and has worked with people like Lil Wayne, Young Money Entertainment, Swiss Beats, Fantasia, plus numerous producers, songwriters, managers, and obviously business executives. So I talked about doing a simple give-get, but obviously we can talk about actual contracts. So please welcome Miss Brandie Johnson. It's how we do it. Oh, we go playing the jam.
I'm like not used to talking into a mic. So hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here.
You know, and that's what I love about doing these panels because, you know, the people behind the scenes, we're not used to being on the microphone, but we're the ones that make shit happen behind everybody. So we need to share our knowledge, right?
I think so.
Definitely. I feel very blessed to have you on here. So let's go ahead and if you want to just tell us about yourself, because I know you also do, life coaching.
I do. So I've been an entertainment lawyer for about 16 years. I've worked with a lot of people. Oh, there we go. I've worked with a lot of people, and in that process, I kind of seen a need for something more than just, I guess, what you would consider advocacy. So I now don't really identify as an advocate because I think that all of you are powerful and brilliant and capable of speaking for yourself. So I see it more as like empowerment guide. I love the conversation that just happened about authenticity because I don't think it just applies to the creative process. I think it also applies to creating your success in an industry that can seem challenging to do so. But I think authenticity is sort of the foundation for creating your own reality and creating your own version of success in the business. So with that, I negotiate contracts all day, every day. And I have, I would say, 3 keys to really just making sure that your contracts are a tool that's working for you and facilitating your growth at the pace that you want it to be facilitating the growth, because obviously, if you enter into the wrong contract, it can slow it down. And the first one, I would say, is having an authentic vision and creating your own context for that vision. So what that means is that deciding what success means to you, because I think the industry has a lot of narratives, right? We come in, there's a lot of, it's shady, you can't trust people, you got to be careful, people are going to take advantage of you. Like, that is the context of the industry, but if you accept that, it doesn't support you. Because it's like if you're trying to build a business and then in the back of your mind, all you can hear is, this is shady and people are going to take advantage of me, then how can you truly authentically collaborate? How can you walk into a room and, speak up for what you want and really desire? So that's the first one. The second one is what I call the negotiation before the negotiation. And that is the negotiation that you have with yourself before you walk into any room. This is where you decide on what your boundaries are, what you are available for and not available for, what you're willing to accept and not accept, where you're going to compromise and not compromise. Because when you nail that, when you go into a room and you're hit with all of their limitations, because they're going to tell you, well, we can't do this, and you don't have enough of this, and you're not quite ready for this, so here's what we can give you. And then if you haven't nailed the first negotiation, you will essentially try to fix yourself within all of those limitations. And that's obviously a disempowering conversation. The third one is what I call cultivating your unshakable resources. And those are inner resources. So if you have the vision intact, you've nailed the negotiation before the negotiation, your resources are now unshakable, right? You're standing in your worth. You know what your value is because you've decided. You're confident. You know what your non-negotiables are, so you're prepared to say no if necessary. So when you have all of that, you basically have leverage in every room that you walk into. And it's not the kind of leverage where it's like, how can I convince people to give me what I want? It's the kind of leverage that's going to ensure that you're never settling for less.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes, bars, for sure. Okay, wow, that's amazing. So let me ask you this, because we were talking, when we were talking on the phone about doing this, I mean, obviously that is the gist, essentially, of creating a win-win agreement, right?
Yeah.
So when you're about to get into agreement with somebody, so you said decide on what you're capable of or what you're able to offer and
yes,
your boundaries.
Yes.
Right? So
but not just what you can offer, because I feel like we get lost in that gets lost in the external validation, right? You know what your capacity is. So even if I don't have something right now, I haven't achieved it right now, I know how hard I'm willing to work to achieve it.
Yeah.
So it's all of that. Because that's what's going to build the confidence. Otherwise, somebody's going to tell you, well, you don't have enough followers on Instagram, so we can give you $10 and see what happens. Right.
Okay, so and a lot of us, and I'm one of them, even though I have 10K followers or whatever, right? When I host, right, I would like to get paid to host, right? But a lot of times, just like artists, we get paid based on our social media. So do you have advice on how to essentially get more money or get, where I can win more or get what I deserve, what I know what I'm worth?
Well, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
The money that you're currently getting, did you ask for it or did you just say, well, how much are you charging? Or how much are you paying?
Well, so I always ask what their budget is.
It's problem number one.
Okay. Good to know. I've been doing this wrong. Okay, so what am I supposed to do?
My fee is.
My fee is. I love that. Okay, I get that.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, so saying that, so what? Do I just do research on how hosts usually get paid or whatever, or just say,
no,
this is how much I want?
No.
Okay.
So it started with creating your own contracts, right?
Yeah.
How much do you want to get paid?
Right. I would like to get paid $2,000 for an hour.
Okay.
But I realize that's a lot, but I also know my worth and what I can bring.
So it's not then. It's not a lot.
Yeah.
Is that a lot for you? Do you feel it's a lot?
I guess so.
You think it's a lot?
I think it's a lot for a host, but I guess it depends on what I'm doing.
Well, see, that's why we're not getting the $2,000.
Man, she's just coaching the shit out of me. Coaching me right now.
But you have to decide that you're worth $2,000.
Yes.
Because otherwise, as soon as they tell you, well, we don't have the budget for that, you're going to say, okay.
I love that. Amazing. Okay, so do you have any other advice on, I guess figuring out how you can approach that to how do I become comfortable in saying, you know what, I deserve $2,000 plus I want, because, sometimes I work with artists and they're like, okay, well, I want green M&Ms and I want this much and I want, a whole VIP section. They don't just come up with that, right?
So the way that you figure that out is because that stuff is not the value, right? When we're entering into a contract, we're being paid for something, there's a value exchange. Mm-hmm. What are you exchanging for the $2,000?
My energy, my work, what I can do.
Okay.
Right.
Hello.
Okay, so...
And how much is all of that worth to you?
To me, priceless.
Right. But if you had to put a price on it for an hour... $
$2,000. Yes, I love that. I love that shift.
So it's not the green room stuff like that. That is like that's not what's being exchanged.
Right.
Right. That's not what you're exchanging. Is your time, your energy, your genius.
Right.
Like let's not like you're exchanging your genius. Anytime you open your mouth, you're exchanging your 10,000 followers on Instagram.
Right. Awesome. Okay, so we have a bunch of creatives here, especially artists and DJs. Are there any specific contracts that they must have, like just in their inbox, ready to utilize?
I don't think there's like specific ones, but if anytime you are exchanging something, there should be a contract. So it doesn't even, you don't have to be getting paid for it, but if you're exchanging or you're collaborating and you are using intellectual property, there should be an understanding, a written understanding as to where it can be used, how profits or revenue is going to be split, if there's any, the use of your likeness and the parameters around that. So anytime there's any type of, exchange of IP, there should be a written agreement.
What is IP?
Intellectual property.
Okay, got it. I need clarity.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, can we talk about that? If I need clarity, I'm sure somebody else needs.
Intellectual property is your music, your lyrics, your personal brand, your likeness, your sometimes it's like your what else? I mean, if you're doing like poetry, anything written, anything that's created in tangible form is intellectual property.
Got it. Okay. So before I open up for questions, right, because we don't know exactly what you guys want from this, so we want to open up to, so mic people, make sure you're ready. Now I forgot my question. Oh, when you write a contract, is there any specific sections that should always be there? Or like any specific words that should always be there to make it into a contract or a proper agreement?
No.
Okay.
And I say that because in 2022, you should be able to read your contracts and understand what they say.
Okay. I agree.
Anyone. They should say what they mean and mean what they say.
Okay, so all these long contracts with all the fine print and all that stuff, that's out now?
No. It shouldn't be that complicated.
Okay.
I believe that the creative themselves should be able to read it and know exactly what's in it.
Yeah. Do you think they made it like that before? Because
okay.
Crazy, y'all. All right, let's go ahead and open up for questions, guys. Let's take advantage of this because this is the real business side that we really need to know so that way we make our money and don't get screwed over. So, any questions? Got one back there? Drewski.
I actually had a question about owning your likeness and owning your logos. Is there anything that you would tell artists or anybody in the music industry to look for in their paperwork when it comes to those things?
So are you the artist and someone's doing the logo for you?
So I run a media company. So I do graphic design, I do logos, I do branding, and things of that nature. And I always tell artists that come to me for a new logo to get it exclusive. Because if they don't, I can come back and get 10% or however much in royalties because you don't own all of your brand. So is there something that you would tell any artist to look for?
Well, I would say that's good advice. With anytime you have artwork that is created by someone else, you have to have a very explicit transfer of copyright. Otherwise, you don't own it.
The IP thing that we were talking about.
That is the IP. Because the original IP always rests with the creator.
Right.
Yes. So that's what contracts are essentially for. They are to transfer ownership, or if they're not transferring ownership, it's to basically spell out, how you can use things that you don't own,
right,
and how the creator is going to be paid or compensated.
Got it. Okay, so it's kind of like when singer-songwriters, right, will go on YouTube and then they'll talk to those producers or find those beats, and then they say, okay, I'll sell it to you for an exclusive rate or
a license.
Yes. Okay, can you tell us the difference between that?
It's the difference between a license and a buyout. So when you buy out, you're buying out copyrights, meaning that once you pay the money, you own it. You're the owner of it now. You can do whatever you want.
Wait, so does that mean when you do your split sheets, you don't need to put their name anymore?
That's correct.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Cool.
Well, here's the thing. That's not true. So we're talking about a producer. With a split sheet, we're talking about publishing copyright.
Okay.
So you can buy out the master rights and they maintain the publishing copyright, which means you do still have to put their name on a split sheet. But the master...
For credit?
Yes.
Okay.
No, for publishing.
Okay. Okay, so they're still making money off of it.
They're still making money on publishing, if that's the deal.
So it's about the deal that you create. Got it.
If that's the deal. If it's not the deal and it's a complete buyout and you're buying out all rights, then no, you don't have to put their name on it.
Got it. Interesting. Okay. Any other questions?
Hey, I was curious, is there anything you have to do to make like a contract legally binding? Like, could I hypothetically just type something up on like Google Drive and then just put a little DocuSign thing and be good? Or do you have to do something specifically to make that contract like legally binding?
You don't have to do anything to make it legally binding. Like, I could draft an email. I can draft an email and say, here's my understanding of the terms. Please confirm. And that's a binding document, binding agreement. So, no.
So you literally can take that to a court and say, hey, I got some emails that states, and they confirm this?
Yes. So I guess if I were to try to go back to my law school days and give you like the basic contract, how many years ago? You need three things for a contract to be considered a contract. It's an offer, acceptance of the offer, and then some sort of consideration, which means that you've exchanged value. You've exchanged some sort of value for the offer.
Okay. Cool. Earlier I was talking about a give-get agreement, so I guess it's the same thing, right? So just what you're giving, what you're getting, and that would work.
And what you pay.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Questions? Oh, got one right there. Izzy.
So my guess is trademark, but what would be the specific paperwork or like process that you would go through to protect your likeness and your brand? Like, you know, as like if you had an artist that has a specific image or way of presenting themselves that they want to protect so that someone can't like duplicate that or attempt to duplicate that, what would you go through to do that? Is it trademark or like how would that work?
Are you referring, so when you say, I need a little bit more information. When you say like a certain look or how they present themselves.
Like a brand, like for example, like a name or like a likeness. Like sometimes people have different things that they use to represent their brand as far as their look. And in the music industry, sometimes people will try to spin off things or things like that. And I've seen that there are paperworks to protect that, but I'm not sure exactly what the terminology is for that. I suppose I'm asking.
So a name would be a trademark. A look, I'm not sure you could protect a look.
So you're saying like J-Lo can't be the only person with a nice ass?
Like if I wanted, no, I'm saying like if I wanted to start a band like called Blink 183, you know, and
that's amazing.
And we look just like them, you know, and
so the look they wouldn't be able to do anything about, but the name you wouldn't be able to use because that's a trademark name.
Interesting. But like, so the likeness and the look is something that you can't necessarily do, but the name and everything. Okay, interesting.
Crazy. Okay. Any other questions? Nas.
Okay, so I have a question about mixtapes, using sampling, and being able to push that through without permission. Because for whatever reason, it seems like if you are doing a mixtape and I want to remix all of Beyonce's music, and as long as I say mixtape, it seems to be okay. But as soon as us trying to push through, your regular Spotify, whatever, as your album that you've used these samples from, then it's like, no, you cannot do that. Can you give me more clarity on that? I'm asking specifically because a friend of mine has a really dope song that has a really small sample in it, and he's going to push it through on his mixtape because he knows that he can't use it otherwise because of the legality behind it, or at least he thinks that.
Is he selling the mixtape?
Good question.
Because I think that what you're referring to is the difference between actually selling it and just putting, which I don't even know how you do that. Like, mixtapes come from, like, back in the day when there was mixtapes, like, you didn't really, like, you would get them off of these sites where you weren't really necessarily, like, paying or, like, streaming them. Now, mixtapes have a different, like, mixtapes are still exploited on DSPs and things like that. So it's anytime something is exploited and you're making money, you're generating money, it's copyright infringement.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a question now. So what's up with, like, when we make an Instagram, post, now I can't use, like, Beyonce's music anymore. It's not like I'm making money off it. Well, I guess I do because of Reels we make money. But is that right?
Because Instagram is a marketing tool. So it gets kind of blurry as to whether or not you're making money, right? And then there are people who do make money on Instagram.
Right, that's true. Any other questions? Leo.
Going off of what Izzy said, I know a lot of people might have searched their name, like their artist name, on Spotify, and there's other people that have the same name. If you got the trademark and actually locked in that name, what's the next steps to pursue those other people to get them to change theirs so you can keep yours up and be the only?
Are you coming in after the fact, or did you have the name first?
If they don't have a trademark, what if you're the first one with the trademark? I don't know how that works. I guess we want more clarity on that because I'm assuming a lot of people have gone through that.
So if you trademarked it first, you own the trademark, and you can make an argument that since you have the trademark, you now own the brand. I think it's going to be harder, though, because they're not just going to look at you trademarking it first, because the other person hasn't. If the other person's been using the name and the brand first, you could be up for a fight.
Okay. Yeah, so they'll have like a date stamp where they'll uploaded their songs first, and then you'll be in a little pickle there. Okay. Interesting.
I don't know which way it would go, though. I don't know who would win, but I'm just saying it's not a slam dunk.
Question in the back?
Just to piggyback off of what he said, what if it's your legal name?
That's a good question. I think you would definitely have a stronger argument, and full transparency, I'm not a trademark attorney. There are people who specialize in that. So I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. I don't know.
Okay.
But that is a good question.
Respect that. Yeah, because I was thinking about that. Like, once you trademark it, the timestamp for everybody else, you got to fight. But if it's your legal name, then you should be able to do a cease and desist, right?
So I don't think it'll be that easy, though, because you're using, even though it's your legal name, you're trademarking it to use it as a brand name.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Real.
So can you trademark your hologram and your voice now? Is that something that's going on with the AI?
I don't know.
Maybe as an NFT.
Yeah, I was trying to ask the most impossible question to a lawyer, and I beat you.
I mean, NFT is a thing now, right? So it's a whole other world for sure. Any other questions? Okay, so as an entertainment lawyer, and what kind of contracts did you normally have to handle?
What kind?
Yeah, or because there's different departments, right? Obviously, in the entertainment lawyer.
I mostly represent music artists, so songwriters, producers, artists, and then a lot of those folks are also entrepreneurs and have their own labels and companies as well. And then I do some, like podcasters and stuff like that, just because everything is kind of mixed in there. So there's different entertainment lawyers, but usually it's like music and then TV film. So I don't do any TV film.
Right.
And then you can have trademark specific folks that's their expertise. So that question that you just asked for a trademark person, trademark attorney, they would be able to answer that question for you pretty easily. So for me, it's just, songwriter agreements, artist agreements, producer agreements, song deals, podcast agreements. Yeah.
Okay. So on that term then, say a songwriter and a producer are kind of going at it. How do you deal with, because maybe the songwriter's like, no, you're not giving me the percentages that I want, or the producer's saying, no, you're not giving me the percentage that you want, but they really want to release the song or get it going because maybe it's going to get placed. How do you, as an attorney that, fights for somebody, how do you get the other person to say, okay, fine,
I don't. So that's not how it goes. Typically, one, for me, I've been doing this a long time, and I know the importance of preserving the relationship between the creatives. So that's always in the back of my mind. So if I'm in a situation where there is a dispute, I become the person that communicates, and then you allow the creatives to sort of work it out and figure it out. If both people want to release the song, everybody's going to benefit from it. There has to be some type of compromise that's going to happen. And may use some persuasion to say, here's why I think my client should get what he's asking for. This is why this makes sense. But I'm not the final say.
Right. Okay, so that kind of goes into the win-win. It's compromise and really knowing worth.
Yes.
Got it.
And if it's a situation where if I have a client, because most of my clients know their worth, and they're like, it's not worth it for me. Forget it. We're just going to put the song out, and then that's what it is.
Jeez. That's crazy. There's so many music out there that doesn't get released. It's insane because of stuff like this. Yeah. Any other questions?
So I had a video on my TikTok that someone stole from me and reposted on YouTube and got 11 million views. Is there a way I can avoid that from happening?
No, because TikTok is a platform that is owned by somebody else.
So is that's intellectual property, though,
but
right?
But the thing is, whatever you put on those, if you go into their terms and agreements, whatever you put on those platforms become their IP.
So I had a similar question with a strategy that a lot of people use on TikTok is they'll literally rip a video from a podcast or something and just be like, this guy said this.
Yep.
Is that legal, or is that considered stealing someone's intellectual property?
I think you could argue it both ways.
It's like fair use, right?
Yeah. It just kind of depends.
Technically adding something to it?
I don't know if it's because you're adding something to it. I think it's just because you're taking things that have been released publicly.
Public domain or something.
Yeah, and it's just it's the social media platform, so it's kind of
it just feels
it's
very
fuzzy.
Gray area.
It's gray. It's very gray.
So let me get this straight. So for instance, obviously we're videotaping this, right? We're gonna put it out there, and yeah. So the thing that we kind of just grazed over and just said, yes, I just need to get on Instagram or TikTok, right? So you're saying if I put this stuff up, other people can use it and it's fine, they won't get flagged. But if I use somebody's Beyonce's or something like that, I get flagged.
You could flag it though. If somebody took this and put it up somewhere, I've had clients where things have been taken from somewhere and it's been posted, and I issue cease and desist.
Oh, okay.
Can I just draft a fake?
But here's the thing with something like that, on social media, when we're part of the engagement that these people are relying on is that, right? It's the reposting, which is why you're not getting people say, hey, take that down, don't use that, because they're relying on the sharing.
Basically, my solution was to just put my face and logo in every other video. It's the one video I didn't put my face or logo in.
I think that's good.
It went mega viral, and it was annoying because a bunch of meme pages started reposting, and between all the people that posted it, it got probably 100 million views, but I didn't see anything from that.
Right. Your goal is, because I don't think the resharing is the problem, your goal is you want it to be able to come back to you.
Yeah. That was
right?
the mistake I made. Is I didn't put my likeness in it at all.
Yeah.
And then I got more traffic than I'd ever expect, but then nothing to do with it, and can't really take advantage of it,
Yeah.
at least on the platform.
So I think you've learned a valuable lesson.
Oh yeah, I learned that the hard way for sure.
Dang. Okay, I think Drewski, you had another question? Okay, so we got to put our name or our brand on the video now. Got it. Check. Jeez. Hey, but hold on. But did you text them or DM them and say, "Yo, can I at least get credit for this?" Got it.
Here's the thing. I think that's the biggest problem with social media is the lack of integrity, right? I think we should credit the artist, credit the creative. I don't think that's why the resharing is not the problem. It's just that you want to be able to you want the creative to be able to capture that momentum.
Well, what was frustrating is that she posted it now when I put it up, you found it and see so you posted it. And when I posted it, I got 2,000 views. We got 11 million.
Jeez.
I don't know. I'm trying to find a way to keep that from happening.
Well, yeah, I mean, you figured it out. You got it. So.
Well, to help answer that question with YouTube and other social media platforms is what's called a Creative Commons license. So, like you said, a person could come up and say, take a clip of the video and say, he said this, because he's using it in what's called context. So as long as they use a video, they can even do it with music. You can play a song on your YouTube video as long as you talk about it in context, you won't get flagged. And you can only use a certain length of it as well. You can't just go ahead and play the whole song willy-nilly. It's up to a certain amount, but you have a Creative Commons license, and then with music, it's called talking about the song in context, and that will help solve your problem.
Thank you for that, because I didn't know that.
Wow. Wait, what was it? Creative Commons. Any other questions? Izzy.
So, in terms of sync licensing, maybe when you're doing contracts, do you have to have the actual registered copyright back to actually go for sync licensing, or can you just use the general version that you have once you create something?
You don't need the copyright, the actual registered license now. Once it's created, it's copyrighted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's enough.
Okay.
So, the actual registration is going to help if there's a dispute of some sort.
Okay. I was told that, but I wasn't sure if I could actually believe that, but I feel like...
Wait, pause. You just said that we don't need to register it anymore? So just creating it...
You should register.
Okay.
But once it is created, it's automatically copywritten.
Got it. Okay. So how do you prove that in court, though? Because I've worked with...
Well, that's why I said if there's a dispute, it's going to help you to have registered it already. If not, then you have to go through, I always say if you're a producer or you make music, make sure you have your files and make sure who has the stems. This is why all of those things are important so that you can then prove when it was created, where, who created it, that kind of thing. Because if you don't have the copyright, if it's not, and you still will have to do that maybe, but if you actually have the registered copyright, it's going to help you.
Got it. Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. Last chance. We got an entertainment lawyer here. Cool? Okay. So, did you... Yes, I'm sure she will talk to you guys in person too. She'll be hanging out. In fact, I'm going to actually keep her on for our next panel. But first, please give a round of applause. Thank you so much for that information that we definitely needed. So I'm going to go ahead and keep her up here for the next panel because the next panel is about being a woman in the industry. Now, don't get me wrong, men. It's still important for you guys to be here because obviously you will be working with women in the